Competitors that competed in the TT race that are running for the Pro Grand National Championships had a violent outing. It was one of the most vicious races of all time. Wiles brought home all the hardware, but day two, one day later, it's time for the Springfield Mile, one of the most legendary flat track races of all time. And Mees, Smith, and Johnson will all do their best to get back around Wiles. The best about to start. Hold on. Welcome to the Lucas Oil Motorsports Hour. This is the AMA Pro Flat Track Nationals presented by Speedco. Ken Stout and Chris Carr to call the action for you here from the Illinois State Fairgrounds. The Springfield Mile is certainly legendary with action and speed. And Chris, this place is awesome. We're going to show you a number of the biggest names in history that have won here, and your name graces that list.
I tell you, if there's any race on the schedule we want to win, it's the Springfield Mile. It's our Daytona 500.
There's a look at some of those names we're talking about. Let's get it down to Kenny Sargent.
Well, the Springfield Mile is legendary like the Daytona 500 is for NASCAR or the Indianapolis 500 for IndyCar. And like those two big-time races, there's a legendary trophy that goes with a win. And any flat track driver worth their weight in gold, they want this one. They want the Randy Dean Turbot Memorial Trophy, who was named after Randy Dean, who actually lost his life here in 1985. But what they want to put their name on multiple winners like Scotty Parker, Bubba Schobert, Ricky Graham. You know, the cash is nice, the prestige is even greater, but they want their name on the Turbot. And a little bit of history here for you. You go all the way up to 1937 when this thing started. Lester Hilbish from Ready, PA was your first winner for the Springfield Mile.
Thanks a lot. Nice job, Kenny. And we will get these guys lined up here. We're also going to show you some highlights from our heat races. 3 expert heats, dash and cash, of course. 2 expert semis, pro singles main. Then, of course, we'll have our main as well. The dash for cash is also much more, though. There's points involved. Let's show you highlights from heat number 1.
The number 1 of Jersey Jake Johnson out front on the Harley-Davidson being chased by a pair of Kawasaki's. The 42 of Bryan Smith, followed by the 10 of John Lewis out of Pennsylvania. You got 2 Kawasaki's hooked up. The Kawasaki's are running really strong on the Springfield Mile today. They tend to have a little bit more top speed than the XR 750 that Johnson's on. But the number 1, as you see here, can certainly get through the corners really well as it goes around the outside of Lewis. Track's a little slick right now. They put a little water on it before the first heat race, but you're starting to see the blue groove form, and the deeper blue that gets, the faster this track's going to get.
And needless to say, as you watch them line up, of course, the left arm will come down as they tuck in. Drafting is a huge part of this style of racing as they're out here on this mile. Massive speeds. Look at them tuck in right there. Jake Johnson doing a great job of getting in between those 2 Kawasaki's. So those Kawasaki's can hook up, like you said, they can take advantage of that top speed. Yeah,
the Harley in the middle here is doing everything he can to draft by Smith down the front stretch here to the checkered flag. And that 42 on the Howerton Motorsports Kawasaki of Bryan Smith is very, very fast.
A brand new bike for Bryan Smith, first time in competition, and they bring home a win against this level of competition. That speaks volumes. There's a look at the results for heat race number 1. Let's get it down to Kenny Sargent.
Brian, so much about that concern about that Rick Howerton powered machine, huh?
Yeah, it's great. Rick Howerton, Jeff Gordon, Skip Eakin, Crosley Radios. They gave me a great, not only beautiful, but really fast and great handling motorcycle, and I can't thank them enough. It's great.
All right, we will line up our next heat race. We'll call this one for you as it happens in the expert category. This place is so tough. I mean, it is not a game for the faint of heart as you see these guys lined up here. What are the top speeds here, Chris?
Well, top speed coming out of a double draft like we saw in the first heat race, you'll see around 130 miles per hour. One guy drafting another, maybe 126. Running out there out front by yourself, you're pushing a lot of air, maybe in the low 120s. So the idea is to hook up with your partner. You need a drafting partner to stay up the front.
Oh, and maybe rolling the start just a little bit there was Stephen Bonzi. Looks like he might have got away with it, but he does end up in second place going into turn number 1 here.
It's always good to get out front early, especially in the heat races. We see number 9, Jared Mees, darting out, puts 4 bike links on the field to start. If you can get away early, it's a good thing. But we got number 59, Willie McCoy, inching into second here. We got the 2 guys that won both mile races here in Springfield a year ago. And they're getting to check each other out here pretty early, but Mees is on the gas.
Yeah, just a great shot there, speed shot as those things went by. And yeah, Mees off to an awesome start. Now, if these guys work together, will they track him down? They
should be able to track him down as long as they don't dice too much through the turns. The key thing is here, Willie's on a strong motorcycle, XR 750 that he builds himself. And if these other 3 tuck in behind him, I think they'll have a good chance of chasing Jared down.
And Robinson doing a great job right underneath Bonzi. The number 44 bike drives right underneath him, makes it look easy. Easy, it is not.
The 44, Robinson on the Bill Werner Racing Kawasaki. Another strong run in Kawasaki around the Springfield Mile today. We saw 2 of them in the first heat race. You know, it used to be 18 XR 750s in the main event here at Springfield. Now we're starting to see a few of the other brands get involved, and that's good to see. It's good for the sport.
Robinson was looking again, but I've got to tell you, Robinson's bike has wiggled here a number of times, so he's doing a great job of riding that thing. Now has lost just a little bit of ground on second place, but he's making another run at it here, and he's going to take a look at McCoy. Can he pull it off this time? Oh, so close, but it's not going to happen. One guy that's not being fazed by any of this, though, is our leader.
Jared Mees is trying to check out. Willie McCoy's trying to hunt him down.
We had a chance to talk to Jared earlier.
You know, a year ago today, I got my first Springfield Mile win, and it was my first win in about 3 years. So I feel more and more comfortable every time I come here. I'm on really great equipment that Brent Armbruster prepares for me. And so I have a lot of confidence in my equipment, and then also peeling off that win.
And here we go, talking about the lead. It is McCoy who drives underneath Jared Mees. It took him a few laps, but they finally caught up to him.
See, the track is starting to pick up a little bit of speed. You're able to carry a little bit more momentum through the corner. The track that we see today is a lot like the track we saw Labor Day. Willie McCoy got his first Springfield Mile on that day.
Oh yeah, looking, I thought we were going to go 3 wide there for a moment. I have a question for you. In all forms of motorsports, the drivers are typically told to look ahead, look out, where it is that you want to go. When you're that close behind somebody, what are you looking at?
Well, you're certainly relying on your peripheral vision, because you got to be able to pick up somebody coming up the inside of you. There's a lot of trust here. We see a racing line that's about 4 feet wide at the moment. At 130 miles an hour, it feels like it's 4 inches wide. So there's a lot of trust going on amongst the riders.
When you're out front, how far ahead are you looking?
As far as you can. The further out you look, the slower it's going to feel. So these guys are looking around the corner as far as they can.
Absolutely my point there. Something for all the riders out there and race car drivers as far as that goes. Need to have a part of their program look ahead, but look at this battle for the lead. They are going at it now. This is why people love the Springfield Mile. This is why people love flat track racing. You never know who's going to lead the next moment.
Here we are with about a lap and a half to go in this heat race, and Willie McCoy, the veteran, out front, being chased down by the youngsters of Robinson, Mees, and the racing lady from Michigan, Nicole Cheza. Inches apart. There's a lot of trust going on out here right now.
You're absolutely right. Robinson, McCoy, Mees all going at it, but it's more than that. Nicole also in there as well. And don't forget about the 80 bike back there. Bonzi is still hanging around with the white flag flying.
Willie McCoy takes the lead into 1. He likes to lead the last lap if he can. We got 5 riders here going for 4 spots, 4 direct transfers to the main event. McCoy comes low off turn 2, making them chase his draft to the lower part of the straightaway into turn 3.
He protects the bottom. He's going to hang on to the spot. However, second place and third place, they all change in turn number 4 as they exit and come towards the stripe here.
Willie McCoy up the inside, beats him to the line.
Woo, man, that is some awesome racing right there. McCoy, Mees, Robinson, and Cheza all making the transfer. Bonzi right there in the hunt the whole time. Just could not pull it off to get into the transfer, but wow, talk about a lot of great racing. It was exciting just from turn 4 to the stripe. Are you kidding me? great racing action. Let's get it down to Kenny Sargent, who's with Willie McCoy.
McCoy, this is not a fluke, is it?
I've been very fortunate. Kenny Talbert taught me how to build these Harleys, and I do pretty good putting these things together. My Independence Harley-Davidson of Wausau runs really good, and I love racing at Springfield. This track's always perfect, and very blessed to be able to go good here, and hopefully my bike's going to keep running great, and we'll make it a little faster for the trophy dash at the main event, and maybe I can repeat.
We have a lot of great racing action yet to go. Don't you dare go away. We'll be right back. Stay with us here at the Springfield Mile. Welcome back. Lucas Oil AMA Pro Flat Track Nationals presented by Speedco here at the Illinois State Fairground. Of course, the Springfield Mile. As we take a look at heat race number 3, this will be a highlights of heat race number 3. And once again, we get after it.
Kenny Coolbeth, number 2 on the factory Harley-Davidson, gets a good start up the inside, followed by Sammy Halbert and the Australian national champion, Luke Goff, number 62 on a Kawasaki, mixing it up early on.
Yeah, great battle here. Eventually, Coolbeth would drive away, just having a spectacular heat race here. And you've talked about this racetrack a number of times, how symmetrical it is, which makes it easy to set the bike up.
It's a very easy racetrack to go fast on. As we see Coolbeth checking out on the field here, we have quarter-mile corners, quarter-mile straightaways. But when you have an easy track to go fast on, it makes it a very difficult strategic race to win.
Yeah, if it's easy for one, it's easy for all. As the white flag comes out, you can see this battle for second, third, and fourth. The final transfer spots, it was extremely intense. 5 guys looking for the final 3 spots into the main event. You got Goff leading the Halbert brothers, 69 and number 7, with Sean Bear and Henry Wiles on the Ducati bringing up the rear. These 5 wanted to get in the first 3. And Goff has the handle coming off of turn 4. Coolbeth has picked up the win, but look at this battle here for second, third, and fourth. Woo! Man, talk about exciting.
Wow, there was a blanket over them at the line, that's for sure.
Look at this. Wiles is just going to try to sneak by Sammy and could not get it done. Talk about a game of inches.
Kenny Coolbeth checks out on the factory Harley out front. I'm sure he'll want to do that in the main event as well.
Let's get it back down to Kenny Sargent, who's with our winner.
Kenny, I walked over to you and said, good to see you again, man. About time you showed up. Congratulations.
Yeah, we've been doing pretty well. You know, we had good Daytona finish, but you know, now today's here and we're doing well. And you know, we just need to gain points. You know, we kind of had a bad outing last night, and with this XR 750, it's pretty good. So looking forward to 25 laps.
This next race is always exciting. It's the top 2 from each heat race, so 6 people in the dash for cash. It also has points implications on the championship. Oh, and right off the bat, it is Jake Johnson who gets a terrible start.
Lights it up off the line. We saw the blue tire smoke coming off the rear tire. That's not a good way to start a race that's paying 5 points to win. On down to 1 for 5th, and 6th place is basically got 4 laps of practice.
This is a highlights reel of this dash for cash, and take a look at Jake Johnson. Talk about making a comeback as he looks to go around the outside of Mees, and now trying to get around the outside of Bryan Smith. Nobody's gotten around Bryan Smith as of yet. That bike is fast.
That Kawasaki is certainly running good. Johnson's doing everything he can to draft, trying to maybe pass him in the corner as we see Smith bobble down to the inside to try and get those guys chasing him, chasing that dead air behind his motorcycle, and he's doing a good job of it right now. Off of turn 4 to the stripe for the win. That Kawasaki is moving. They can't even pull out and go by until after the finish line.
So there's a look at the results for the dash for cash. Smith, Johnson, Mees, McCoy, Coolbeth, and Luke Goff round out the top 6. Once again, welcome back to the Lucas Oil AMA Flat Track Nationals presented by Speedco here at the Springfield Mile. Semi number 1 for the experts. It'll be a stacked up field, and some of the best are in here, including the number 17 of Henry Wiles. Off to a good start on the outside of row 1.
Wiles jumps out on the Ducati, followed by Sean Bear on a Kawasaki.
We have a great story brewing in here as well with the number 31J of Daniel Ingram, 47 years old, making a comeback.
Wearing the bright yellow helmet, Dan Ingram, 47 years old, from the Indianapolis area. Ended his career 19 years ago on this very racetrack, on this very part of the racetrack, coming off of turn 2, suffered some severe head injuries, making a comeback in the AMA Grand National Racing at the ripe young age of 47.
You know, congratulations to him for tackling his demons and coming back here. No doubt at some point it started eating away at him that he just did not want to leave the sport on that note, and he's made quite an effort here over the past 7 months. You can see the 17 bike out there. Henry Wiles checking out, but a good battle as the top 3 will transfer into the main event.
And certainly Dan Ingram running fourth. Needs to get by one more guy here to get himself a spot in the AMA Grand National Final.
And he's done it right there. As of now, he should be in the show, but this one is far from over.
Ingram lines up on Sean Bear coming off of turn 2. As he come off turn 4 with 1 lap to go, in a great spot. He just needs to follow that kid around in pink right now, I think, and he's got himself a spot in the final.
It would also be quite an upset because our points leader, Matt Weidman, is right behind him and in danger of not making the show.
That would be very unfortunate to be leading the points and then get a big goose egg at the Springfield Mile.
Weidman on the outside takes a look but can't make it stick. Ingram holds his ground and looks like he might make it into the main event. We go on board with our leader across the stripe, but let's take a look at the battle for the transfer spot, and Ingram is going to get in. Weidman does not. That is huge. Take a look at the rest of the results here for semis number 1. Let's go to the semi number 2. We're going to show you highlights of this race as well. It was a great battle, especially towards the end. The top 4 here, of course, fighting for the 3 transfer spots.
We got 4 Harley-Davidsons up front. Should be a good dice. You know, one of the things we've seen in the heat races earlier was the Kawasaki's in the mix. When you have 4 bikes of the same brand, as we see 23 Carver shaking his head a little bit down the straightaway, you'll see a lot more give and take on similarly powered motorcycles.
3 wide through there for just a moment. So exciting.
Kolkman, number 98 out front. From Central Illinois, 27, Rob Pearson drafting up the inside, and Bonzi up around the outside. Definitely 3 wide going into turn 3 there.
The better part of 130 miles an hour, inches off of each other. Look at that, side by side all the way through the turn, and Pearson will exit with the lead.
Kolkman drafting up the inside. He's in a good spot right now. But here we go, nearly 4 abreast into turn 1. Things are starting to heat up. These guys wanted into the final, that's for sure.
Another look, here we go. Bonzi on the 80, Carver Jr., Pearson.
And Kolkman now finds himself in 4th, the odd man out in this quartet of riders, fighting for 3 spots.
Amazing how it goes. Kolkman leading there for a while, now in 4th. I mean, these guys are changing the lead every single lap. Woo! What a big save right there.
I've been in many races around the Springfield Mile just like this one, and you can rest assured that these guys have ear-to-ear grins on their faces as they battle it out for the final transfer spot.
So Carver, after that big save just 1 lap earlier, now works his way back up to the front, but a lap is a long ways to go here, and nobody gets the lead for a full one.
Approximately 30 seconds to the checkered flag on this final semi. It's always good to be out front in this position here. Bonzi, sometimes though you can be a sitting duck, and here he has 2 of them go up by him, with Carver and Pearson running it up the inside in turn 3.
Both guys doing a great job. It is Carver out front. Can he hang on and exit here with the lead and then hang on to it to the stripe? He's going to get plenty of company here from the 27 of Pearson, but it's not going to happen. Carver hangs on.
Close finish by Pearson in 2nd with Bonzi in 3rd. Those guys are going to the 18-rider final.
And Kolkman just missing out. Stay with us. The Pro Single Main is next. Pro Single Final is next here at the Lucas Oil AMA Flat Track Nationals, presented by Speedco here at the Springfield Mile. The distance will be 12 laps, and these guys will put on a show.
And gal, we have Shayna Texter in the mix here as well, along with 17 of the fastest 450cc up-and-coming racers in the country.
Green flag flies, we are off. Competition is on. 12 laps in distance here. If you're going to get it done, you better get it done quick.
The 30S of Jason Eisenach out front with Steven Vandeker, the 10J in second. These guys know how to run at the front of the pack here at the Springfield Mile, and a previous winner here in fifth as well, 81 of Zach Palmer. Makes his bid up the inside going into turn 3.
And that was awesome as they fanned out 5 wide already. I mean, really the racing ability, the style, the technique, the skill level, all right there. The only thing that's different is the speed.
A 115 miles an hour top speed on these 450s, and these guys aren't going to breathe out of the throttle very much. Running the motocross-based chassis with the big wide radiators, these guys are punching big holes through the air. And look, we got the entire field within a second coming off of turn 4.
Zach Palmer out front. We saw Vandeker up there as well, vying for the lead. Once again, they fan out here. The 55 of Jake Shoemaker also in the hunt.
And this is what this class does each and every time we're at Springfield. It's a 17, 18 rider freight train.
The fans absolutely love it. And look at these guys, I mean, and gals, absolutely battling.
In the middle of the guys here, 25-8, currently running 6th is Shayna Texter. She weighs all but 100 pounds, racing against these guys, muscling that 450 around the corners. She's in the mix. She wants to beat the boys.
A great power to weight ratio. If you're going to be competitive out here, how heavy can you be as a rider?
Well, I would say in this class, you don't want to be much more than about 150 pounds. And if you are, you better be tucking in really good on the straightaways. Shayna, all 5 foot tall of her, can do both.
Absolutely talented as well. She is pounding around with the boys, to say the least. Not afraid of it. Keep your eyes on the 25A. She will be a threat to win this thing, as everybody is nose to tail here, and once again they fan out.
We have a rider putting his hand up, Robbie Trinan on the outside, unfortunately dropping out. He was in the mix, but lap after lap, 1 lap to go. This is what it's like at Springfield every time these guys have run here for the last 4 years on these 450s. It's almost scary at times because one little bobble forces a chain reaction throughout the field.
Vandeker out front on the 10J. Palmer, the 81C, right there behind him. You can see the 25A, that is Texter. She's trying to roll up in there. The 94 comes back around the outside. Cunningham trying to take a lead from Palmer.
Line up. I mean, this is anybody's race with the draft of these 450s coming to the line. Vandeker's not in a great spot. You don't necessarily want to lead, but oh my goodness.
5 wide, holy smokes. Go ahead, Carr, you call it.
Who won that race? I have absolutely no idea who won that race.
Talk about a photo finish. Look at these guys and gals. Look at Texter. Oh my goodness, I've never seen anything like it. Literally 5 wide at the stripe, 3 of them all but a tie.
Looks like number 94 won that race. Didn't I say that?
And the margin of victory, 5/1000ths of a second from Cunningham to Palmer, 15/1000ths of a second between first and fifth. Close? I think so.
I've never seen a closer race in my life.
Let's go to Kenny.
Well, guys, what is a miler bike? Well, basically, it's a prototype bike built for flat track. And a name synonymous with flat track, of course, is Harley-Davidson. And some crazy dimensions for these flat track bikes. 550 to 1250 cc's, minimum weight 310 pounds, 19-inch Goodyears front and back. Your horsepower set at about 90 plus, low 60s for your torque, and your gearheads, the gear ratio set at 540. But probably the most important thing for your flat track bikes is your suspension. It needs to stay straight and narrow and put power to the ground with your front end and of course the monoshock underneath the seat. Power to the ground is so important for these bikes, and a number of riders will tell you there may be some tricks they perform in the front end to really dig the front end of that bike into the dirt, specifically here at Springfield. Fellas?
Thanks a lot, Kenny. We can see our main competitors pulling out here. The 25-lap main event is coming up next. Stay with us. We'll get things started. Welcome back to Illinois State Fairgrounds here at the Lucas Oil AMA Pro Flat Track Nationals presented by Speedco. The Springfield Mile is legendary, and when it comes to competition, there is no place better to watch flat track racing. Here's a look at our expert category as they chase the AMA Pro Grand National Championship. And Kenny Sargent's right down there in the middle of all of it. Kenny?
Hey guys, the key to this race, you gotta believe the wind is playing a big factor. When you come out of turn 4, these riders are gonna be hit with some major gusts out of the south. And a couple of riders have even said, I'm gonna be playing cat and mouse come last 2 or 3 laps, because you don't wanna be in the lead coming around on that last lap. Fellas?
Touch on that, Chris.
Well, if I were Bryan Smith on a Kawasaki, I'd want to be leading off of turn 4. Nobody's drafted him to the line all day long, so typically into a headwind, you're a sitting duck. If they were all on Harleys, you definitely wouldn't want to be leading off turn 4, but the power of the Kawasaki, as we've seen through the heat races today, leading's probably the best place you can be.
We have a couple of great stories. First of all, we should tell you that Matt Weidman, our points leader coming into this event, will use a provisional to get into the show, and then also will keep up, of course, what we talked about earlier. Daniel Ingram, at 47 years old, has made the show as well. Congratulations to him at 47. That's quite an accomplishment. It's an accomplishment at any age, but at 47, it's pretty impressive. Here's a look at the points that we were talking about before, and this is what they look like coming in. Now, keep in mind that Weidman did not run in the Dash for Cash. There were points available there. Mees did. So technically, as it stands right now, Mees is the points leader.
Oh, and Coolbeth with a terrible start off the inside of the front row, much like Jake Johnson in the Dash.
Yeah, smoked that back tire.
Not a good way. Oh, my goodness.
A huge wreck. Oh, my goodness.
Wow, that's Sammy Halbert flying through the air like a helicopter after making contact with the air fence.
Just a violent wreck. You can see all the riders with their hands out, basically telling the other riders, we're stopping here, a red flag incident. So everybody will stop so that we can check out our riders here. That was a violent, violent crash for Sammy Halbert, which we watched. I'm sure all involved. I think right off the bat, we have to talk about these air walls. They have the safer walls and cup, of course, but these airbags quite possibly saved his life.
Replay here. Looks like Nicole Cheza and Brandon Robinson get hooked together, and Halbert and Robbie Pearson there on the outside had nowhere to go. As we see on board, you see Pearson pick up, and yeah, absolutely nowhere for those guys to go.
Another onboard shot here, and it really looked like Nicole Cheza. It looked like she was going to fall, but she couldn't, almost like she's kind of hung up there.
Yeah, she's hung up with Brandon Robinson, and wow, I'm just amazed that this isn't worse than it is.
So happy to see Sammy sitting up. What a scary moment. He must have helicoptered the better part of 4 or 5 times. Stay with us. We'll be right back. A very scary moment here at the Lucas Oil AMA Pro Flat Track Nationals as we had a very scary wreck just a few moments ago. It brought out the red flag. Probably the most visual was Sammy Halbert, who helicoptered the better part of 5 or 6 times. Another look at it here. It is scary. We're so glad he is okay. Let's get it down to Kenny Sargent, who's with Brandon Robinson.
Pretty much, we got a good start there, and looks like Nicole got her bar stuck in my boot, and my leg just got locked straight. And next thing I know, we're just heading for the air fence. There's no way to stop, and we just bounced right off of it. And I guess a couple guys got tangled up with us. So I'm fine. Bike seems all right. Hopefully everyone else is all right, and we'll get back out there.
That is great news, and all 4 riders were talking, so that is also great news. Matter of fact, as you look at the restart here in the back, you will find Brandon Robinson and Robert Pearson.
Making the restart, that's good to see. Coolbeth, a much better start this time. He was the winner of the fastest heat race, and he certainly doesn't have to come from as deep in the field this time around.
So once again, a 25-lap main event here as we go on board. Looking out of the back of Mees' bike. He's looking at the rest of the field too, by the way. He loves it up there.
Yeah, Johnson moves up the inside into turn 3, and Jake is really, really smooth. That's why he's got that single-digit #1 on his motorcycle. The guy likes to ride up front.
No such thing as settling in and riding here for a few laps. Everybody is on it 100% of the time. Oh, way wide there as well.
Somebody got off the outside edge of the groove. You know, sometimes they put a little bit of water down on the racetrack prior to the main event to try and cool the tire temperatures down a little bit, preserve the racetrack. Typically the first 10 laps or so, the track's a little slippery.
The number 10 bike gets out there and leads the group. That is Johnny Lewis.
Johnny Lewis on the Kawasaki. The Kawasaki's been really strong. I see Jake Johnson having a difficult time drafting there as well. Running it up on the edge of the groove, trying to widen the groove out a little bit. Lewis pulls a little bit of a gap coming off of 2.
Yeah, and we haven't seen anybody be able to make that pass on the outside, or at least it's extremely rare. We've seen a lot of people get up beside him and put the pressure on, but never hang on to it all the way through the turn.
Well, this early in the race, it's probably best to try and get your tire temperatures up slowly. And it's kind of hard to do when you're racing at 120 miles an hour, but these tires have been known to blister in years past, usually from heating them up too fast early in a race. You want to make sure you have the best tire at the end. So running out front early is not necessarily an advantage.
You know, we talked about Bryan Smith and that bike being state-of-the-art, the number 42 right there, taking a look right now to ride underneath the number 9 of Jared Mees. But you brought up something earlier, that the lap times here really haven't changed over the years, and the great equalizer, even though the bikes are highly developed, is that tire.
Well, it's a 25-year-old tire, and the technology on it hasn't changed, so you're pretty much limited. It doesn't matter how much horsepower you have. If you can't put it to the ground, it's going to be ineffective.
That, of course, also creates very close racing that the fans love. So the tire playing a huge part, and I'm telling you, there is no more room left on that track before you hit the wall.
Yeah, they're about ready to put some racing stripes on the wall with their leathers, that's for sure. That's actually a pretty good tactic. If a guy wants to draft you coming off the corner, he's going to have to go all the way to the wall to get in your air. And that's a typical move around the Springfield Mile.
Boy, it is a gutsy move, but all of these athletes, I mean, they are so talented. And talk about a game of inches. Their vision is excellent. Their hand-eye coordination, excellent. Of course, their ability and skill is like no other. So they are very comfortable with playing this game of inches.
Here we're looking on board with Henry Wiles as Sean Barrett hits a little rut in the middle of the corner. We won't find too many of those ruts around the Springfield Mile. I tell you that the track crew here at the Illinois State Fairgrounds is awesome at building racetracks. They once made a sprint car track, allowed these guys to go 24 flats for World of Outlaws. They know this dirt like the back of their hands.
Once again, that battle for the lead really hasn't changed. Smith, Coolbeth in third and fourth there. But the two leaders going at it, and I can't help but wonder if Jake Johnson is kind of comfortable where he's sitting right there and just keeping the pressure on.
Well, I see him try to pull out to go by John Lewis, but it takes the whole straightaway to allow him to get by, and when they go too wide, that's a bigger pocket of air for the riders behind to suck up in on.
And no sooner than I say that, and he takes the lead away from the number 10 bike who's been out there the entire time, Johnny Lewis. Lewis answering, though, as he goes right back down to the bottom and takes the spot. And I'm waiting for Bryan Smith to step up in here and get into this mix for the lead.
I think we'll see him up in there any time now. But it's ironic. We have brothers-in-law running 1-2 here in this final, as Jake Johnson is married to the older sister of John Lewis. That's a pretty happy day for the Lewis family right now.
Little slip right there by Jake Johnson as well, but gathered it up. And I've got to tell you, it seems like when Lewis and Johnson work together, they're able to gap third and fourth place just a little bit.
They seem to be really strong through turns 3 and 4. Now, we listened to Kenny talk earlier about the wind. They're getting a big tailwind. They're getting pushed into turn 3 really, really hard. And sometimes with a tailwind, it's harder to follow. Much easier to follow into a headwind, but it's difficult to follow with a heavy tailwind.
Battle for 8th back here, a little bit deeper in the pack, and again, just great racing going on everywhere here. It doesn't matter where you look. There is no shortage of talent.
See the dust getting kicked up down the back straightaway. A lot of guys are getting out on the edge of the track where the track doesn't quite get packed in as well as we see this blue rubber part coming off of turn 4. And we see Smith out front now.
But plenty of competition behind him as we take a look at our Speedco top 5. Before we come back, it could all change again. Welcome back to an intense battle here at the Lucas Oil AMA Pro Flat Track Nationals presented by Speedco. This is the Springfield Mile, and it is on. Right now, out front is Bryan Smith. Everybody's talking about this brand new bike that he has, but this one is far from over, and he has the absolute best of the business right behind him.
The number 2 of Kenny Coolbeth trying to make a bid for the lead. We'll see how the factory Harley stacks up with the newly built Howerton Kawasaki. Doesn't look like he had anything for him. You would think if you weren't trying to get to the front, you'd be able to draft right on by, but that Kawasaki's pretty strong.
The number 2, of course, you've been talking about it before, Coolbeth, and then it's Jake Johnson on the number 1. As we take a look a little bit deeper in that field, you also see running up in here Willie McCoy in the 59.
Last year's winner on Labor Day. Let's see what Bryan Smith has to say about Springfield.
Typically, Springfield's different because it's 5-10 guys going that can win it, you know. So it really comes down to the last couple laps and kind of positioning yourself to be in the right spot off turn 4 on that last lap, as opposed to Sacramento or some of the other miles where a couple guys will break away, or one guy might break away because the corners are tighter and you can make up a lot of time. Where this, it's kind of a big freight train and everybody's got a bunch of momentum going around there.
Well, he couldn't have called that one any better. These guys are doing exactly that.
He's the conductor at the moment, that up front.
And you pretty much know what you're getting into. I mean, that's what you guys live for. When you're on top of these things, making a living at this deal, this is what makes it fun.
And I'm really surprised there's not more give and take. That Kawasaki is so strong up front. When you have a factory Harley that can't pull out and draft it without some help, you know that somebody's sitting aboard a missile.
You know what? He's getting some help, but he still hasn't done it. So I don't know if anybody's going to get around him or not. But again, we'll have to go back and talk about these tires. How long will the tires hang on? If he does have more power, if he is using them, stressing them a little bit harder than the guys behind him, that tire might give up here towards the end.
Well, he does look like he's cavitating a little bit going into turn 3 there. Sometimes that can stress the tire a little bit more. He seems to be carrying a little more speed into the corners. I guess time will tell as when this race winds down. As Willie McCoy tucks in behind and see if he has a chance to get by Johnson and as well as Smith.
Yeah, Jake Johnson with a big move there just a moment ago. Picks up a couple of positions, works his way back towards the front. You said it just a moment ago. Willie McCoy also making a move. These guys are playing hard back behind him. We'll find out if Smith can hang on and keep that Kawasaki out front.
You know, a lot of times we see how close they get to the inside guardrail. I remember a race about 5 years ago when Willie McCoy actually caught his left hand on the inside guardrail through the corners. A lot of times you're trying to get down to just that little bit of moisture, maybe below the groove to get a good run. And then they drift all the way to the outside wall, nearly hit the chain link at the top of the concrete. These guys are using every single inch.
How much pressure is on that left foot whenever they put it down?
It's more out for balance than anything right now. You're not putting a whole lot of weight. It's just out there. It's a steel shoe. It's meant to skim. You're certainly not putting a lot of weight on it.
Again, massive speed here, hovering around 130 miles per hour as these guys battle for the lead. Let's get it down to Kenny.
Guys, I'm up in timing and scoring on lap 23. The difference between 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 0.055. That's 0.055, your top 5 riders in the 23rd lap.
Well, 500ths of a second, and wow, a big move right there as Kenny Coolbeth goes way wide, has to get out of the throttle to save it. The white flag flies, 1 lap to go, and here comes the 59 of Willie McCoy trying to put the pressure on.
Willie McCoy is going to want to get as close as he can going into turn 3 on the last lap, if not by him. But with the tailwind down the backstretch, it's very difficult to get a good draft. But Smith has put a couple bike links on him.
Smith looks so good, carries so much speed there out of turn number 2. He does that one more time, he's going to pick up the win, but it looks like McCoy's right there. Oh!
Wow, Smith darts way to the inside. And
what was that about?
Nobody had beaten to the line the entire race, and I'm really surprised that he made a move that drastic. Absolutely killed his momentum, and Willie McCoy, the veteran that he is, just kept his momentum going and didn't really have to draft. The draft came to him.
And you can see the excitement out of McCoy, thinking he probably didn't have a shot at getting around him.
I didn't think anybody had a shot at getting by Smith, to be honest with you. That bike was strong, but Willie McCoy holds his line coming off at turn 4, beats him to the line.
Willie McCoy, I was talking to him there just before the race, just before the checker dropped. We were talking about sticking up for the old guys. Man, you pulled it on him. You were sneaky back there. I knew what you were doing, Willie. Congratulations on that win. That is huge. Number 2 for your career.
Thanks. It feels great. The Harley-Davidson of Wausau is running good. Independence Harley-Davidson. I didn't get the best of start. I was struggling. I lost that lead pack, and I was trying. I'm like, I got to get up there. I got to get up there. And I finally caught him. Then it was just, I didn't know if I was going to get up there. And then the last couple laps, I'm nixing him in second behind Bryan. And I tried to pass him sooner. I just couldn't do it. And I was hoping to pass him on the back straight on the last lap, but I wasn't close enough. And then I had a good run on him trying to catch back up. When he darted to the inside, I just said, I'm just going to the outside. It's either going to work or it ain't. And it worked. This Harley-Davidson of Wausau Independence Harley ran awesome.
When did you tell yourself, man, I got this. I got a chance at it?
I really didn't think I didn't think I could draft Bryan. That Kawasaki run's awesome, and I've learned a lot from Bryan. Watching him dive to the bottom coming off of turn 4, that's what I did last year to win. And I had such a good run on him. When he started, I saw him going. I'm like, I ain't going. So I just kept going to the outside. And once I had a good run, I kind of peeked out my corner of the eye. I'm like, I might have this. And I heard somebody else behind me. I don't know how close they were, but I'm like, once I got to the line, I knew it. It's awesome.
24 years in the making. He gets win number 2, guys.
Nice job. Congratulations to him. We'll take a look at our points as well as Jared Mees takes over the points lead from Matt Weidman. And then it's Lewis and Johnson who are tied up for 3rd. Make sure you check us out online to keep up with all the action at lucasoil.com.
And closest racing in motorsports history, in my biased opinion, here at the Springfield Mile. Great action in the Pro Singles as well as the Grand National Plat. Racing doesn't get any closer than this.
Now that's a victory lap. For Kenny Sargent and Chris Carr, I'm Ken Stout. Thanks for watching the Lucas Oil AMA Pro Grand National Championship.